YouTube family, how you guys doing? Of course, this is Damon Mason, and let me welcome you once again to my page DM9. Guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you guys who have been subscribing to my page. For those of you who have been liking the content that I've been sharing, guys, I really appreciate it. So first and foremost, once again, guys, if you like the content, please don't forget to like it and as well as subscribe, guys. Every subscription helps the growth of my page, and it continues to help me to encourage me to continue doing what I'm doing. So, guys, it's a recording. Phone ring. This is actually the fourth time I'm doing this recording because my phone has been ringing. But anyway, this is episode number 3. So, guys, welcome to episode number 3, which I have entitled Taking Advantage of Opportunities. Guys, at the end of episode number 2, I was talking about, which is actually called Growing Up in the Hood. So Growing Up in the Hood was all about naturally growing up in St. John Parish, in the different types of hoods of LaPlace Reserve in Garyville, playing baseball at the age of 10 after being cut at the age of 9. I was talking about the friends that I made and just the way the mindset was at that time, from not just playing baseball in the baseball diamond, but how we competed in the school system as early as elementary. So now I'm at the age of 10. Once again, as I was saying at the end of episode number 2, Growing Up in the Hood, and making the baseball team for the first time, the LaPlace Dodgers. But I remember sharing how it was very unique on how they did it. Everybody who was a part of the LaPlace Dodgers were actually individuals who were cut from the LaPlace A's, who were the best team in LaPlace at that time, and really throughout the river parishes. Well, St. John Parish, I should say. And I had a phone call. The phone call of a few minutes ago, and I was speaking with the individual who happened to be one of the most influential individuals in my life, my big cousin Vance Jones, and we was just reminiscing, talking about it. So he gave me confirmation. Yes, he was on the LaPlace Dodgers that first year, and as he put it, he was the LaPlace Dodgers. I mean, he was the best player on our team at that time. And as I remember, he was right. Vance was older than us. Again, the little boys, as we called it, was at the ages of 10, 11, and 12. And as I told you guys, Vance being 2 years older than me. So we all was 10 years old playing with the Dodgers when Vance was 12. And as I told you guys, myself, Romel, and Oman, Dusty had snuck over to the LaPlace A's. We lost every game. We had the best uniforms, but we lost every game. And we had a lot of individuals who played with us that year that I won't go for sake of time. I won't try to go over all those names again. But we tied the last game of the year against the best team that year, which was the LaPlace A's. So guys, moving forward, I also want to speak about at the age of 10, for the very first time, I was introduced to football in LaPlace by that same individual, Vance Jones. Vance, again, just being around Vance, as I said in episode 1, I got introduced to playing baseball, to trying out for the baseball team with the LaPlace A's at the school ground, hanging out with Vance when his mom, Miss Emily, went to go pick him up. And so a couple years later, I should say, at the age of 10, Vance was on the baseball team, the LaPlace Dodgers with me. Now it's football season, and he introduced me, asking me to come out to try for the football team with him, who was actually coached by our neighbor, Roger Webb. Now, Roger was probably a senior in high school, but he was old enough to be trying to start a football team in LaPlace. Now, guys, that's very significant because, as I've said many times, at that particular time, St. John Parish, the school system, I ain't gonna say it wasn't great. It wasn't all that good. But we didn't have sports. We didn't have extracurricular activities like that for us to get involved with. And honestly, in the parish of St. John Parish, we didn't have a solidified recreation program. What we had was the whites had their sports, their rec for their kids, and thank God we had black men and a few black women who got together to create something for the black youth, the black boys of St. John Parish at that time. Now, guys, I'm not saying that to start no mess. I'm simply saying that that's the way it was. We didn't care. We just wanted the opportunity, and thank God we had that opportunity. All right. Now, to say that some of them same things might be taking place today is unacceptable. Okay, but that's a story for another day. But that's how it was, and we was fine with that. All right, and it made us better from it because of it. So, uh, so I tried out for the foot. Not try. I went out for the football team with Roger, with Vance, and my dad showed up that first day to see what was going on, and he told me no, I couldn't play for them because he didn't think Roger had insurance for the football team at that particular time. And where we practiced was actually where everything took place, was the school ground. So out in the outfield, that's where I remember Roger was holding football practice. We was out there, and I seen my dad drive up. He came and said, "Nah, come here." Told me I couldn't play. But on the other side of the outfield of the school ground, the outfield, the baseball field, baseball diamond, I should say, Mr. Alonzo Steele was holding football practice for his football team, which was called the St. John Panthers. Now, I don't know how my dad met Mr. Steele or how he knew about this here, but, I guess that's a lot of things that kids don't know that what their parents do. So my dad took me to Mr. Steele, and that's how I was introduced to the St. John Panthers in the very first football program, organized football team that I played for. Now, there were some individuals who played football, who played baseball in St. John Parish with the Ford organization, between LaPlace Reserve and maybe a few from Garyville. Some didn't play baseball, but we had some key figures who played baseball who were stars on the football field. Of course, Randy Brown, you had Troy Gerard, you had John Van Print, and of course, Vance eventually left Roger and came play with Mr. Steele himself. So. But the thing about playing football, I quickly realized that the things that I was known for, I had negatively known for, I should say, those things that didn't look good on a baseball diamond kind of worked to my benefit on the football field. And honestly, let me clarify this here. I was a crybaby. I had a quick temper. I had an attitude. I didn't like to lose. I'm not gonna say I always wanted to fight, but when I got mad, I wanted to fight, even though I didn't fight all the time. So I was the kid. I always tell individuals that people told me I had a bad attitude. I need to change my ways. Well, on the football field, that worked to my favor because when I got like that, I took it out on somebody. So it was like saying when I discovered playing football at the age of 10, it was like a perfect marriage between the football field and Damon Mason. It needs to say I played defense. And all they're supposed to do is hit the man with the football the best way you can. So if I had to run over my own teammate to get to the man, to get to the ball carrier, that's what I did. Now keep this in mind. Matter of fact, let me change it because you don't know this here, but let me tell you this here. At that particular time, that was the first time there was a football program that we know of the young black boys in St. John Parish. That was the only football team going around that was quote unquote legit. So all we had was the 13 and 14-year-olds, and I was at the age of 10 playing with those guys. Now, how can I put it, man? It was a really growing up experience because playing football for the St. John Panthers that first year, and you playing against certain other cities throughout the state, we were accustomed to playing against teams that had high school kids playing, kids who were way past the ages of 13 and 14. But I was still tough enough to play, even though I was at the age of only 10. 11 and 12. Now, I'm going too far, but again, the point I want to make is I was introduced to playing football in St. John Parish at the age of 10. Because and people know me as a football player, but they don't realize that once again, baseball was that foundation for me. But now check this out. So now I'm going to move ahead to at the age of 11. At the age of 11, my second year with the Dodgers, uh, after we lost every game and tying the Class A's the last game of the year, we felt like that was a shift in the wind, so to speak. You know, that we was making a name for ourselves uh, throughout the Ford organization as a team to be reckoned with. And as I share with people, we didn't play baseball just because we love baseball. We didn't play baseball just because we love to compete and win games and talk trash to each other at school and throughout the community. One of the main reasons why we played baseball was, yes, those two, but because of Ford organization. Ford had an all-star team. And making an all-star team meant that you was quote unquote the best of the best of the rest, I should say. And you had the opportunity to represent a larger, something that was bigger than yourself, representing St. John Parish, representing LaPlace Reserve in Garyville, and you got a chance to play at night, a park, a ball game at night, man. That was like playing the big leagues for us. And again, man, we watch guys like, you know, Bobby Gibson, Wallow, Papa, Randy Brown, so many other guys, man, so many other guys. But we've heard the stories and we watched a few of them play All-Star games with Ford, and we watched them lose. And no team from Ford ever went to the World Series. So, needless to say, we had a desire to be the first representation of Ford to make it to the World Series, an all-black team to play in the World Series. And at that time, we was playing Dixie U. So at the age of 11, I had my first real opportunity to make the All-Star team. And keep in mind, guys, the stories that I'm sharing are stories of not just my life, but stories that are very, very relevant to why I left East St. John High School. So a lot of things from my youth took place that by the time I got to a certain age, in a certain grade, I made the decision that I didn't want to go to East St. John High School. And this is the story that I'm sharing. All these stories that's relevant. And it started once again with the baseball. So, at the age of 11, as I was saying, after being called a crybaby, which I was still being called a crybaby, but not as much because, guys, if I didn't say it before, I cried when we lost. I cried when I struck out. I cried when I made an error. I cried when I didn't play. I cried for just about everything, but I cried because I was mad. You know what I'm saying? But still, crying for any reason is not a good reason to cry in front of my friends because they will clown you. And my mom would tell me, you know what? Well, if you don't like being clowned, stop doing some of the things you're doing. Or if these guys are your friends, you better find out how to join in or have tough skin, because you can't always be around somebody when people talking about having fun what young boys were known for doing, but then when they turn on you and start cracking jokes on you, won't cry, won't get mad, won't fight, which I was accustomed, known for doing. So I felt like I proved myself, only to come back at the age of 11 to feel like I had to prove myself again. But I don't remember much about that season. But the thing I do remember that's very significant about being the age of 11, playing for the LaPlace Dodgers. As I said, I had the opportunity to make the All-Star team, along with my boys, Dusty, Oman, Romel. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Dusty representing the LaPlace A's. And I'm not going to say everybody, guys, but Dusty from LaPlace A's, Terry from Reserve Phillies. I think it was Chris Nicholas, Calvin Lee Flip Flop from Garyville, but definitely Oman and Romero from my team, the Dodgers. And of course there was many more, but I just can't remember verbatim. But my crew, Dusty, Oman, Romero, those guys made the All-Star team, and I was told that I was chosen for the All-Star team. I remember getting a knock on a door. Everything was during the summer. This was summer ball, park ball. Again, we didn't have a good recreation program, no recreation program. We just had organizations. So as they was preparing, to get all the paperwork ready for the All-Star season, there was a knock at the door, and it was Mr. C.J. Watkins and Mr. Lewis. Can't remember Mr. Lewis' first name, but Aaron Lewis from Park Place, Aaron Lewis' dad. God rest his soul. Mr. Lewis, that is. So, knock at the door. Those two gentlemen asked for my mother because I remember my dad was at work. And my mom talked to them for a few minutes. Then they left. She closed the door and she called me. She said, "I got something to tell you." All right, what's going on? And I remember her telling me that she said they unfortunately they regret to tell me that I couldn't make the All-Star team that year because my birth certificate was turned in too late, not on time or something like that. So I don't know if my parents turned in my birth certificate late or the men who represented Ford, I don't know, they turned in the paperwork to the state of Louisiana too late. But for whatever reason, that was the reasoning I heard, and I didn't hear. All I heard was I couldn't make the All-Star team, even though I was chosen for it. And I just remember crying. And I remember asking my mom, why does it seem like nothing goes right, nothing goes in my favor? Why does it seem like my friends always have an opportunity and things work out for them, but it seems like everything always goes wrong for me? And I've shared this before, even episode 1, I think. But my mama told me when I was young, always tell me, referring to the word of God to teach me lessons. And I remember her telling me, you know what, I don't know why, man, but God has this family predestined to go through a lot of things. You're going to get everything you want. You might not get it when you want it, but everything that you want in life, you're going to achieve it. You're going to get it, but it's going to come with a price. You're going to have to, your faith is going to be tested. You're going to have to be humble. You're going to be patient, persistence, and persevere. Now, she was sharing with me all these words for a long time at an early age, but needless to say, being as young as I was, I didn't want to hear that. I just know that I couldn't play baseball, yada, yada, yada. But she told me, she told me these things, but she also told me that, one day I was going to be able to share with people my story. I was going to be able to relate to individuals when they go through their own trials and tribulations. And as long as you alive, you will continue to have to go through these tests. And God is preparing you and testing you. And they're like, man, my life? Why me? And so this is what my mom told me. So needless to say, I was crushed. I couldn't even go watch the boys play because it was just hard for me. But again, when football season came around at the age of 11, it just made my love for football grow even more so because I held on to that anger that I had. I held on to that frustration, all the negative things that I felt on missing out. I unleashed that on the football field. And that basically is one of the things that I've done throughout my career as a football player. So, but it taught me a lesson. I always talk about favoritism, that I feel like there's a lot of favoritism in St. John Parish at the time, and for many different reasons, But as I look back on it, I still will say that was favoritism, but to no fault of my friends because they were good, and I keep stressing that they were hella good. They were good, and that made me want to step my game up to even be on the same level with them to be considered for the All-Star team, and that's what I did. But when we got to the football field, even though for some of those guys who didn't play football, but for those who played football, I can boldly say that was like night and day for Damon Mason. A lot of my friends could not even touch me or see me on the football field. But baseball, I had to learn to step my game up to get on their level. All right, and me not making the All-Star team, that was one of, if not the first negative thing I've experienced after being cut at the ages of 8 and the age of 9. So now I'm gonna start to close it at the age of 12. So at the age of 12, we come back during the summer, and you playing for the LaPlace Dodgers, and now, man, we we got it going on. You know what I'm saying? We got it going on, and I don't think we won every game, but needless to say, we won the quote unquote district that year. We won. We was the best team in the league that year. And what that meant, guys, is when your team is the best, when your team has the best record at the end of the season. Now, our coach, Guerrero Anderson, had the opportunity to pick the All-Star team. And the way that it went was that not whoever, but since the Dodgers won the league that year, Guerrero picked the majority of the players from his team for the All-Star team. But the stipulation was that he had to pick 2 from LaPlace A's, 2 from Reserve Phillies, and 2 from Garyville Pirates. And guys, that was big for me because I honestly felt like the only way that Damon Mason was going to make the All-Star team was that we had to win. The team that I was playing for had to win the league because, like I said, they had a lot of good players. And throughout LaPlace Reserve and Garyville. But on my team alone, you had Romel, you had Oman, you had some other guys. I can't remember all their names. At that time, Daryl Miller was playing at the age of 12. You know what I'm saying? So you had a lot of guys playing. And then that's where I would say that favoritism part will show itself. I call it favoritism, but honestly, I guess it is favoritism where coaches coaches were just, somebody's parents, who took it upon themselves to put something together for us and to groom us and grow us. So when we won that year, needless to say, I made the All-Star team because I honestly thought that if we didn't win it, I wouldn't make the All-Star team. Not if you're picking just 2 from the Dodgers. So it meant a lot for me to win as many games as we got. Maybe I should say I didn't play just to win. I wanted to be the best. I wanted us to be the best so I can make sure, quote unquote, guarantee myself a spot on the All-Star team. And before I go any further, man, let me just say, as I said, Guerrero Anderson was not only my first coach, he was kind of like my first mentor besides my father. Because being called a crybaby, quitting as many times as I did, he put up with me. Again, I was just talking and reminiscing with Vance Jones. That first year, man, I don't know how many times I quit, or how many times I cried, I got mad, had a bad attitude, quick temper, threw the bat because I struck out and whatnot. And my answer to everything was, I just quit. So I remember when Vance and I walked from Park Place all the way to Woodland Quarters when Guerrero handed out the uniforms, and he gave me my uniform last because I guess he wanted to put me on ice. He wanted to make me sweat a little bit, which it worked, you know what I'm saying? But we had a long talk, but needless to say, he gave me my uniform. He put up with me, man. He put up with me. And I said I was going to give Vance a little spotlight, extra spotlight, because even though he don't need no extra spotlight, because he was my motivation. He was my childhood idol, mentor, so to speak. Vance was our best player, being the oldest player on our team at that time. And he helped reminded me how whenever we rode to a game, we rode, our parents drove cars or pile up, we used to pile up in, I think Guerrero had a truck at sometimes, but Vance was sitting in the front seat, you know what I'm saying? And Guerrero's youngest son, Rhonda, and we call him Monkey. Don't ask no questions, but we call him Monkey. So only Vance could sit in the front seat with him and Monkey. You know what I'm saying? But Vance was our best player. And Vance did a lot to make sure that I played. Sometimes he even quit so I could play. And guys, keep in mind, this title is called Taking Advantage of Opportunities, because I had a lot of opportunities to quit. And some of them I did quit, but I always went back. And there was a lot of times that coaches had not taken me back, but they put up with me anyway. I had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. I can remember being in Star Terry's when I would get mad for whatever reason, and there was many of them. Get mad, cry, and Terry Grover, my cousin, his mom, she would call me, Sissy would call me, Auntie Sissy would call me, and she would calm me down by buying me a hot dog. You know what I'm saying? So, as I said, man, it was always a family event. But at the age of 12, guys, at the age of 12, and I'm shutting it down, I made the All-Star team for the first time with all my friends and some new guys. And I can't remember all their names verbatim. But that's the picture that you guys see floating around. Actually, that's not. That's the big boys, the 12 boys. And we played at the age, we played Dixie Youth Baseball, representing Ford All-Stars. And we didn't go too far that year. We played some practice games in in Gonzales. I remember hitting home runs, and even though I made the All-Star team, I don't think people realized how good I really was. But I remember I hit 2 home runs in Gonzales. And I remember we played, the Bayou District we played some practice games in Independence. And then we played the Bayou District for Dixie U Baseball in Hammond. Or vice versa. We played some practice games in Hammond, but our Bayou District was in Independence. And so it was myself, Romel, Orman, Dusty, Tariq, Kelvin Miles, Chris Nicholas, Flip Flop, Mandry Smith, Derwin Millie. And as much as I can remember right now, you know what I'm saying? So, but it was from 8 being cut, 9 being cut, 10 making a team just because you was cut, and all the cut boys were put to a losing team. And then at age of 11, making the All-Star team, but couldn't play All-Star because of technicalities, to finally get an opportunity to play in the All-Star at the age of 12. I felt like I had proven myself and made a name for myself in St. John Parish with Ford organization. But that was going to be short-lived when I moved to the big boys at the age of 13 and 14. So guys, that's it for now. Thank you for taking time out to listen to episode 3, taking advantage of opportunities. So guys, once again, if you like the content, guys, I appreciate all of you guys who are willing to hit the like button, and especially the subscribe button. So once again, guys, take care, God bless, and I hope you enjoy episode 3, taking advantage of opportunities. So until next time, take care and God bless. D Mason from DM9. Peace.